I've been
Mm-hmm.
watching the game, and you were talking about your book and how the game has changed and transitioned. With the NBA always changing rules, and for me, it's gotten softer, so I could barely watch. But do you feel with like what everybody's been stating, a lot of players have been throwing and chucking up threes or attempting the 3 points. Do you think down the road the NBA would institute a 4 point line?
Do I think they would? Maybe, probably. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't
I,
either, but I could,
I think,
for
but
some
see, part of the,
reason, the way this league is being operated and how soft it's getting, and everybody's just shooting threes, I could
I really
probably,
like this
I could
basketball.
probably anticipate a 4 point line being created since everybody's shooting from half court.
But see, I think that would be counterproductive to even what the NBA wants, supposedly, if it wants what you don't want. Because I think I can clearly see the point of view that you guys have about this current league.
Oh,
No, it would
I
be
definitely have
it would be counterproductive to what they want, because the whole point of a 3 point line is you need to draw the defense out to create this room to play, right? So that's already been accomplished. People can shoot that shot anyway. There's no reason to add a 4 point line to spread people out any further.
I don't know if
You
we'd be
know,
spreading it out or maybe add more scoring as
but
something more enticing to where if you're down by 4 points, now there's a line drawn.
I think they're going to leave things as is.
Mm.
And I mean, at the end of the day, too. I mean, again, the whole book is
And I'm
about
not sitting there
space as
saying
much
right
as
away. I'm talking about like down the road, something probably talked about in 5 or 10 years.
I would be surprised. I mean, never say never, but I don't think so. No, I think they're going to leave it as is. I mean, there's only so much space you can put lines before you get to half court. So again, like kind of the whole point. If you, this is what the book is about, really,
Maybe
more
be
so than just this.
that double round ring at the top, but obviously spaced out a little bit more, like maybe 10 feet or 5 feet more.
But why? What would it do? The whole point of
It's just
this.
adding spice and points to a league.
But we don't need that. It's fine now the way it is. Like we're solving a problem that doesn't exist. Like the whole point of the line, for it to be where it is it draws. It's like a marker to kind of get people to kind of play in a wider surface so that they're not playing in a phobic and slamming against each other. I mean, basketball has a long history going back to the days of Naismith, as which is discussed in the book. It's always wanted a more open game. They had the 6 foot key with George Mikan back in the 50s that they doubled after 1 year because it was too unfair for the big guy. This is the legacy of the league. What happened in the 90s, that kind of in this kind of phone booth type of style, that's ahistorical. That's what they don't want. They have never wanted. So they have what they want now. They have a game that is up and down, spread out, with a lot of kind of fluidity, all the stuff you guys don't seem to like, which is fine. But that's what the league has kind of been seeking. And so to add a 4 point line is just, it's solving for a problem that doesn't exist from that perspective. There's no impetus for it. I think the same would be true, although this feels maybe more likely if they move the line back. The balance to me is kind of right now. I would not mess with it. And I don't know if they will. My suspicion is that unless like kind of ratings really go and like nobody's watching, which I don't think is happening right now.
It won't happen because there's a lot of young stars that are in the league that are, the fans are excited to see.
Yeah, I am too.
Who's your favorite currently?
My favorite player in the NBA? My favorite young star? I mean, God, how many? There are too many to count, honestly. I mean, I am a Wizards fan, so that's kind of where I grew up. Yeah, not so great.
At least you got Bradley Beal.
They're 10-7. They're not playing bad basketball.
It's gonna fall apart. It's gonna crash.
They're
a little over their heads. Who do I like the most? I mean, I love. You know what I love? This is gonna sound really hokey, but think about it: that we have a league where guys who look like Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Zion Williamson, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Giannis. Now we're going to have Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic, and Embiid. Think about how different all those guys look. John Morant, Kawhi. People say that there's no stylistic diversity in today's league. Look at how many different players, different body types, different styles of play are thriving today. That was not the case in the 90s. It wasn't. Jordan made it look like it was the case, but there's a lot more kind of player diversity now than there ever has been. And I think you have to kind of look at the way the game is played. Now, you may, again, whether you think that's interesting or cool, that's up to you. But to me, I think the criticism that the stylistic diversity isn't there is odd when you look at how all these different types of players who, if the game was stylistically not diverse, you would think that it would sort of cater to a certain type of player and not to other types. But you look at all these different types of players that are thriving, to me, that sort of kills that argument.
We are talking to Athletic NBA staff writer and author of Spaced Out, Mike Prada. Last question for us. Do you like the game right now? Do you like the game? You like the game right now better than the 90s? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's a better
product?
Game. Yeah.
You think it's a better product?
I mean, this is a you're pinning me down on like wording calling product, because I think it depends on sort of how it's been sold. I don't know if I love the way it's been marketed. I think you put the NBC marketing on today's game, it would blow the 90s out of the water. Let's put it that way.
Well, there's more people watching.
I think the game is more skill now. I think it's harder. I think it's more sophisticated. I like that you can see what all these guys are doing. There's appeal to the way the game was played back then.
Mike, you say the game. I'm sorry to cut you off, Mike. You say the game is harder. How is it harder? I don't understand.
I think it's harder to play.
How is it?
Playing on a bigger surface. That's how it's harder. You're playing on a wider surface. You're telling 5 guys that they have to cover more space.
You can't.
That's harder.
You put a pinky on somebody, they're at a free throw line. I mean, this game is boring. It's like it's baby game. You have them crying. You have Draymond Green crying. If you were crying to the referees, or you crying to Shaquille O'Neal in the 90s,
which the reason that what you're describing is really simple. When you play in this much space with 10 people, they're going to bump into each other more often. When you play in this much space, they're not. It really is that simple. And so, if you're saying like kind of you can't touch a guy when it's a foul, I mean. Yeah, because you have to move and cover a lot more space. You guys ever play capture the flag?
Oh, of course.
You have, right? Now imagine one day that the teacher says, "Oh, okay, guys, by the way, the field is twice as big now." That would be a lot harder a game for you to play, would it not?
It would be harder, but I mean, you have the same understanding of how you play the game on how you can win,
But you don't. It's a different game. Your strategies are different. You're gonna sort of look at, do we send more people over here to kind of spread the defense out and then rush here? If you were really like, the problem is that there's no like capture the flag coach or capture the flag X's and O's, right? Imagine like if there was.
Maybe there will
be.
Be.
But if you were to sit down and think like, okay, if you're going to play professionally, how are we going to optimize our chances to win when the court doubles? You're going to do it differently, and it is going to be harder. You have to cover more ground. That's what's happened to basketball. So when I say it's harder, I mean, it is. You can't touch anyone when it's not a foul. A lot of that is because when you spread the game out and you allow these guys to move over all this surface, it's a lot harder to cover them. More surface, and shooting shots, they're drawing you out more. I mean, how do you think like defensive backs cover receivers on a large surface? I mean, it's really more.
Well, they're already trying to get rid of turf and bring back grass. So, I mean,
but I don't know. To me, like this point is like kind of the point of the book, hiding in plain sight.
You
double the court. It's going to be harder to.
I'm going to read your book. I'm going to read your book, and I'm going to have Speedy get you back on the show, and I am going to scope through it, and I'm definitely intrigued on the way you wrote this book, Spaced Out, because I love the game of basketball. I grew up with the game of basketball, and there was something about the 90s and the game, the way it was played, is what I really got drawn to, and what I see now.
What do you like about the old style? Like in terms of, I mean,
quickly, I can tell you right now what I loved. I just loved how the NBA, first of all, the way you position, the way you defend a player, you can use your hands, really get in front of the ball, and the fadeaways and the post-up games that you get a chance to see. Even the game of the NBA, the triangle offense came in really when, obviously it's been around for years, but
I know what you mean.
yes,
Yeah.
but Phil Jackson,
Yeah.
when he brought the triangle offense and really redefined the passing game and understanding how you play the game of basketball and finding the open guy
They
and the open
pass
shot.
more now, though.
Yes,
You know?
yes, of course. I just love the game, and really the it was more rough. It was more. There was
because
more.
they played in this space.
But it was still you can push a guy right out, the fans and stuff like that. Now you push a guy, it's a flagrant 2, and you're thrown out of the game.
Oh, Tatum Clapton got a technical.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, what you're describing is.
I mean, it got rescinded, but it's pathetic.
Yeah.
What you're describing is something different than what he's.
No,
describing.
but I just love the game because it was just everybody hated each other. Nobody was friendly. They went out there.
Yeah, today's game is very friendly.
Yeah, everybody they kissing each other.
LeBron ruined the competitive edge.
Yeah, because the '90s was they sold the lie better to you.
Mike, I love
It's
you.
a deal.
I love you.
You know?
I'm going to read your book, and we're going to get you on the show, and I am going to make sure that I'm going to pick the things that I want to attack. I'm sure it's a great book. I read your stuff. You're fantastic.
Let me just say this.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I did like there are certain things about the '90s. The biggest difference is one thing we didn't talk about, which is the legal defense rule.
Yes,
changing the geometry of the floor. I mean, that's really the biggest difference.
Doesn't matter. The NBA really doesn't play defense anyway.
I would argue it's the exact opposite. It's a lot harder to play defense, so they have to do it collectively, and they are, again, 5 people.
Right.
This space versus this space, a lot easier to do the job when you're in this space.
Interesting. It is interesting. I'm definitely going to read it, and we're going to get you back on. I'm intrigued right now. So how many pages are in the book, by the way? A little bit over 100?
Probably double that.
Really?
Did you sign it?
I
I'll
want to
sign it and send one over.
Send me a signed copy.
I'll make sure Errol reads it. It might take like a couple of months.
339.
I'll read it. It won't take 3 months. It'll take me a week to read that.
You could buy it too.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it for you, but you got to sign it.
I want a signed copy.
You have to. If you send me,
I'll send it to you. I will send it to you. I will buy it, and I'll have Speedy. And I want you to write something particular in my book.
Yeah, and I'll tell you exactly what to write. To Errol, the New York Knicks suck and will forever suck.
Well, thank you. Anyways,
I mean, what can I say? They probably will. Although, do they win tonight? They're winning tonight.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
He's a dumb Celtics fan. Who cares what he thinks? Anyways, they're going to lose 2 this year
pride
against
of Boston.
Milwaukee. They're going to lose against Milwaukee when they get healthy.
Rings,
There's not a chance.
Banners,
not a chance in
the
hell.
pride of Boston
Not a chance
has
in
arrived.
Hell. Not a chance in hell. Anyways,
didn't Boston lose tonight too?
Probably.
I'm sorry?
Snapped their 9-game winning streak.
I think Boston lost tonight. Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, they're losing tonight to Chicago.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I don't worry about one game. I just wait till the finals.
By the way, the Islanders tied with 2 minutes left. Anyways.
Shocking.
Mike, we really appreciate you as always, and we'll get you on again. I will read your book. I will send you the copy. I want it signed, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Spaced Out. How's that sound?
Okay.
Well,
thank you guys. You get it on Amazon. Man. You get it on.
I'm gonna buy it on Amazon. I'll buy it tonight.
You can buy it at your local bookshop. You can buy it at Barnes and Noble. You can buy it through the publisher. Sorry, I gotta do this spiel the publisher makes me.
It's all right. That's all right.
You know,
you can do your shout outs. It's totally fine. You can
Yeah,
shout out your dog
guys.
too.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mike.
Very spirited conversation.
Absolutely.